If I'm used to, you can have the floor. Okay, I guess it's network. I guess I'm missing network. So Prof. Don is the founder of Global Health Focus, and Global Health Focus is aimed at building and instilling skills, not just in research, skills in young professionals. Like you don't even have, it's not just pharmacists now, like young professionals across the world. And they've been able to do that in so many different countries, so many different universities. So it will also be a very good opportunity for you to harness at this point in time. Record. Oh, okay. So Prof Don will join us soon. Okay, join us now. And I was also privileged to attend, I think, the very first Global Health Focus in Nigeria. Yes, at Obafemi Awolowo University. That was in 2017, I guess. Yes, I think 2017. Yes. Then I was also part of the organizers for the Global Health Focus at the time it came to University of Ibadan in 2019. Yes, that was before the COVID, where so I think in my 2020 or in 2017, that was the very first time I met Dawn. And really after that seminar or the session, the 3 day seminar we had, it really changed my perspective. And that was where I really started doing a lot of stuff. Okay, if FAMUSU joins us, so you will also have a lot to say about global health focus and how much it has really impacted a lot of young professionals. And I believe that the fact that we're having Don here on this platform will also give you an opportunity to connect with him even after the session. Like, when you learn from it and you want to build from it, to give you an opportunity to connect with him for future purpose. You can also follow him. He's very, very active on Facebook, so that you can follow him on Facebook. So for those who are really keen on research, like any area of research you're keen on, you can actually send him a message to be part of some of this ongoing research. We also have Fam Yusuf, who is the director of research for Global Health Focus. So you can also reach out to him so that you can also, if you want to join part of the Global Health Focus team to come up with research papers, research work, you can reach out to any of them. So it's a very good opportunity for us to harness. So Professor Don Elisio, let me read this profile so that we can have an overview of what we expect so that our expectations can be high. I can jump from 50% to 100% or maybe 120%. So Professor Don Elisio teaches global health policy at London School of Health and Tropical Medicine. He has published in the fields of global health and public health in international scientific journals and has contributed 7 book chapters. He's a managing editor of Global Health Research and Policy and the International Maritime Health, and he sits in a number of international editorial boards. He frequently reviews for many high-impact journals such as Lancet, International Journal of Public Health, Global Health Action, Global Health Governance, Health Promotion International, PLOS ONE, and BMJ and BMC medical and health journals. Don chairs and sits in many international advisory boards, global working groups, and other international bodies and committees. He has consulted for many development organizations such as European Union, WHO, IOM, UNDP, IMO, and the Rockefeller Foundation, and national governments, university and academic institutions, and private institutions and foundations. He is a popular global speaker and frequently delivers conference presentations, lectures, and seminars in different parts of the world. Don is the founder of Global Health Focus, which aims to develop critical thinkers and leaders in global health through its popular global health courses. To date, the initiative has empowered thousands of health workers and students in Asia, Africa, and Europe. Don is known for having led a number of successful international advocacies, including global access to pneumonia vaccines, access to milk, and the lobby for a UN-led HIV/AIDS program for the maritime industry, and the global campaign against maritime piracy. Don's work, which are mostly focused on addressing global inequity, particularly in health, has been recognized through a number of international awards, including the Global Health Promotion Practice Award, given by the WHO, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the International Union for Health Promotion and Education. The Outstanding Young Man in Global Health from the President of Philippines and many other recognitions from different organizations and universities, is a fellow of the Royal Society of Public Health. So we can see that we have a lot to gain from. Please, I hope you all can hear me. Oh, we have Dawn in the house. Please, if you can hear me, please can you signify in the chat box? Because I think my voice is very low from here. Please, if you can hear me, can you say hi in the chat box? Okay, thank you. Someone said very well. Oh yeah, thank you very much.
I can hear you very well.
Yeah,
Also.
thank you very much. Dawn, thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to have you around.
Same here.
So I guess okay, so you can start now.
Okay, so thank you very much for the introduction. I am currently here in the Philippines, so that is away far from where you are or where most of our participants are. And I'll just go directly to our presentation on navigating careers in global and public health. And I'm sure why you are here, because there are many reasons why you want to be in the field of global health or public health. One, because you are interested in health. Two, maybe because many of you are actually interested in the field of global health, which is something very exciting to many of us. So if you want to have a career in global health and public health, you probably have been doing education, most probably a bachelor's degree in health, whether it's nursing, medicine, public health, pharmacy, and that's where the early start of your interest in health is. But however, this is not only for people in the field of health. This is also for those who are even in social sciences or engineering. so they can also venture into the field of public health or global health. Now, for young people like you, the best way to prepare for a career in this field is really to set a goal. And this should be a long-term and a short-term goal. You should be focused on what you want to do in the near future and how you want to do it. And sometimes during interviews, you will be asked what you want to be in the next 5 years and what you want to be in the next 10 years. Know the process to reach this goal and really work on the process as much as possible. Of course, it doesn't mean like you have to work hard, yes, but you have to enjoy also the path where you go towards this process. And then you reassess it regularly if you are interested, if you are reaching these goals. So you have to check whether you are doing the right thing or you're on the right path. So pretty much is a bit simple, and pretty much it's similar to what we do in other aspects of our lives. And set a goal, for example, and have a role model. So for example, the current head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, can be your role model. He is not a medical doctor. He is a public health specialist. And probably he's the first head of the World Health Organization who is not a medical doctor. And eventually, he became Minister of Health of Ethiopia and currently is the head and running again for the second term for his position at the WHO. I think he's currently unopposed. Of course, he's now handling one of the global problems, which is the pandemic. And it can also be Dr. Margaret Chan, a lady who became the head of the World Health Organization before Dr. Tedros. She worked for the government. So maybe looking at the people you like as a role model, they can be the ones you will choose, so that you will have an idea on the path towards this goal, which you want to see yourself to be in. And some of you would be interested to become the head of the World Bank, for example. Previously, the head of the World Bank, Dr. Kim, is actually a medical doctor who is an academic and eventually became the head of the World Bank. And there are so many of them. There are many Africans. The former Minister of Health of Nigeria, you are familiar with. He became the head of the United Nations Population Fund. And there are many characteristics of these goals which you have. It can be to fulfill a life fulfillment or a self-fulfillment, because this is what you have been doing. It can be to be recognized and a form of pride. And it could also be for financial stability and well-being. That's for the future. For some of you would be interested in impact towards the society. You're going to leave a legacy. That's why you want to reach this goal. And some of you would do it for your family, and also to honor your God. For those who are religious, there's nothing wrong with that. And for some, because they want to help prepare the future generation. And there are so many reasons for these goals and the characteristics for these goals, and this could be one of them. And so what should you do to prepare for a good future? Similar with other goals in life, whether you want to become a mother or a father or a family person, or even any other goals which you have a good education, a good bachelor's degree, and eventually for those who want to get into public health or global health, a postgraduate education would be good. Have a good CV. And one of them is strengthening it is through conferences and presentations, because health conferences would show your intellectual ability, that you are able to present, that you are able to do researches. So of which the next is research and publications. So research and publications, like what we do at Global Health Focus, which I found and which I run in a number of countries, you do a lot of publications to show that you have this good intellect and ability to analyze data. Because at the end of the day, even if you're not going to be a professor or an academic, you are going to handle a lots of information and data in a number, in whatever position you have. You even have to do a lot of writing for most of them. So that's why you get into writing. And for your leadership and for your ability to organize, get into networks and organizations and leadership roles. So what you are doing now in your organizations, for example, whether you're with IPSF or with your any student organization or networks, try to get into leadership positions, because that's where you start to get honed with your leadership positions. And if you are bold enough to do initiatives, for example, initiatives against non-communicable diseases, or initiatives against uh, let's say cancer, you can do this. And if possible, try to get awards, because awards will help you get recognized. So these are some of the these are some of the things that you can, this generally what you can do. And pretty much what you are doing is building a good CV. And this means you have to balance your leadership and intellectual abilities on your CV, because a balanced CV would show that you have both, for example, good leadership skills, and at the same time, you have the good analytical and intellectual abilities. Because some of you are just focusing on pretty much always leadership and leadership and leadership. And if you apply for masters, sometimes they would look at your intellectual capability and intellectual abilities to be able to go for a master or a PhD. So you have to be cognizant of what is happening in your CV development. And many of you would be interested to go for the top universities. And we have done that already at Global Health Focus, where we have been trying to push individuals who have attended our Global Health Emerging Leaders program in getting the top universities of their choice. And so try to be ambitious, because now it is very possible to get to all these universities. Of course, many of you would prefer to have scholarships to do this. So there are so many scholarships which you can enter. But again, it is competitive if you have to do a scholarship, if you have to go for all of these scholarships. These are just some of the examples of scholarships in the UK or in the US. You also have to understand the differences of master's programs in the US and in the UK, the requirements. For example, you have to have a good English language test, whether it's IELTS or TOEFL. And for most of the programs in the US would need a GRE, while in the UK, you will not need a GRE, just direct application. Also in the US, in many universities, you have to have an application you have to pay the application fee, while in the UK and Europe, you don't have to. And you don't only have to concentrate on one country, you have to concentrate on, you can apply to many different countries, even those far away from North America and Europe, such as in East Asia, from China, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, to Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Thailand, Bangladesh. There's so many scholarships which you can avail, because many of you would always want to focus on the US and Europe. So there are so many of these scholarships. Be able to find where they are. Here are some examples of our graduates in MSc in Global Health. He's a guy from Nigeria. Dr. Budinga is another guy, a doctor from Nigeria, who is now doing his master at London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. People from countries like I think this guy from Uganda who was able to do his master at Harvard University. So be ambitious. Another guy from, so these are just examples of many Africans who have done well in their undergrad and was able to do their masters and PhD in different countries. Dr. Seyem Mbola is the editor-in-chief of BMJ Global Health. He is from Nigeria. So you have many role models that you can follow in terms of education. So be ambitious. Try to get, many of you are interested in doing a lot of certificate programs. And so try to get into them. Most of them are free. So these certificate programs is just to add to your CV. And most of them, because of the pandemic, are mostly online. Try to learn more about global health and public health through the information that you get, and do some writing. So even if you're not writing for, for example, publications, not doing researches, you can do write for newspapers, for example. So these are just some of the examples of people we trained who have done work on writing for newspapers in their countries. So this is from Rwanda, some of our graduates. So if you're listening to your lecture in your universities, you can write about what you learn about them. And for some of you, you can just start doing blogs, like writing blogs or podcasts. So just so that you can keep on adding to your work. So do research and publish. That is very important. And normally we have some mentorship. We do mentorship at Global Health Focus if you're interested. And sometimes you have to work with a group so that you'll be able to publish papers or work with the group, because your group will be the ones helping each other in terms of outputs. You can also work with other graduates of global health from other countries who attended the Global Health Emerging Leaders Program, of which the t-shirt I'm wearing now is a Global Health shirt from Global Health Focus. And there are many ways where you can travel, especially young people like you or young professionals even, to many different countries for free. If you are able to attend conferences by submitting abstracts, you can do that. And that will be one of the ways by which you can travel for free so that you'll be able to attend these conferences and at the same time develop an international or global CV. And especially when it's a bit difficult for us, economically challenged to travel, it would be best to be able to penetrate these conferences, which are given for free to many young people like you. And so these are some of the conferences which some of our participants have attended. For example, infectious diseases and women. And the good thing is, it allows you to travel around the world. I have been doing this when I was young. I learned this technique of being able to travel, attending conferences by submitting abstracts and eventually going to many different countries. And keep on attending global health conferences and public health conferences so that you will be able to understand what they do and what the field is all about. So the more that you interact with everyone else, the more that you learn about public health and global health. Now, for your leadership program, you can get into, for example, fellowship programs which would focus on leadership. So, for example, attending different kinds of fellowship programs, whether face-to-face or doing it abroad. These are some examples which I'm going to show you. Emerging Voices is a very popular one. I think every 2 years they have this. They gather many young people from all over the world who's doing global health and public health. And eventually they are brought to attend one of the conferences in the world on health systems global, which happens in many parts of which happens in different countries every 2 years. And apply to global leadership programs. Let's say, for example, Forum of Young Global Leaders, if you can. So in other words, try to be an active young leader. And to be an active young leader means you are leading a group, you are leading an advocacy. And so therefore, you are, when you are leading an advocacy or you are leading a group, you can now be a representative of that group or that advocacy at the global level. So you have to keep on working at your community level or at the school level, and just to keep on honing your leadership. And this will just galvanize your ability to go higher in the steps of leadership. Okay? And there are just so many gatherings of young people all over the world who are interested in leadership. And this leadership programs that you are attending is a way of practicing your skills as a leader, because eventually you'll be you'll be handling big programs in the near future. And it is always good to be at the helm of these leadership programs when you have matured professionally. So one, for example, is the Youth Commission Global Governance for Health. Those who are interested in academics, young leaders for SDGs. So we have many of our graduates, or do WIN initiatives. We have a number who has been doing work on sanitary pads, and that is a very important thing to be addressed in many different countries. And that is there's so many who have been winning this initiative. Try to get awards, African Youth Excellence Awards, for example, and win awards if you can. And there's just so many winners every year, and there's so many of them available to compete for every year if you can. And where can you work for careers in public health or global health? There are so many organizations. And the good thing is, there are available internships for people who want to go into these careers eventually. And some of them are always available online. You just have to be able to make use of the power of the internet, World Wide Web, to know where these are. And there's so many international organizations. There are even differences in the salaries of these organizations, from the UN, from the development banks. I'm sure you're familiar with, for example, the Gates Foundation, the UNICEF. They're all working in your countries, WHO, UNAIDS, if you're interested in HIV/AIDS programs. Even international donor countries would hire all of this, would have all these kinds of jobs, whether it's a local position or whether it's a national position or regional position or global position. And there are differences, of course, in salaries. So this is one thing you have to understand. And some of you would like to become an academic in global health. So for example, you can be a professor of global health. These are the possible salaries in the big universities. A lecturer would start at 40,000 to 48,000. This was a few years back. So now it would be 50 to 60,000 pounds. So it's not bad for those who want to be an academic. But for some of you who want to work for development banks, such as the World Bank or Asian Development Bank or African Development Bank, you can go into this kind of positions right after a master's degree. And the good thing with this is that they are available for young people like you. All you have to do is to have a very good background which I have mentioned to you earlier, what they are. Prepare your good CVs, and right after a master, you can apply to this young professionals program as an example. And even the World Bank has health specialists. Okay. By the way, if there are questions, just please type or your reaction so that I would be able to answer. Let us just make this an informal presentation. Again, there's so many banks all over the world which would accept health professionals or those related to health and development. And if you are interested in working for the World Health Organization, for the P4 position, this is an example of the salary, and it's quite substantial, especially if you come from the low and middle income country. In fact, I think this has now increased because of the need because of the current rate of salaries of international organizations. So learn where these jobs are, and as young as you are, you have to start thinking if that would interest you or that would be good for you. So just keep on scanning the horizon where these jobs are, so that you will have an idea in the future what you want to do. That means you are now reshaping your brain and your thoughts on what that goal is in the future. And this is an example of a salary scale. This was still even way 2014. So a young professional such as you would eventually earn as much as 90,000 US dollars per year for the ones I mentioned, the jobs that I mentioned right after master. And if you go through the rank, you will eventually have a salary of, for example, 322,000 US dollars per month. And these are not taxed because these are development organizations. So I normally joke during my lectures, I know you're not interested with money, you just want to help your people. So this probably is too small for you. And even for UN positions, if you work for the UN, the salaries would double or triple because there is adjustment for where you are located. For example, I remember one of our graduates is now working in a low-income country in Africa. Because it's in a fragile country, he now earns 9,000 US dollars per month for his position. And he just finished a few years ago his master in public health. And there are many benefits also for all these kinds of positions, including the UN, which is very good. For example, one of the benefits is your children, when they go for their education until their undergraduate degree, wherever they study, the UN will pay for their tuition fee. So that is a big thing, especially if they go for the big universities in the world. So these just some of the examples. We still have enough time. I think so, right? That is my email. I will transfer now to another slide set so that I will stop share. So is there any feedback for now while I transfer to another slide set? Are there questions?
If you have any question, I think you can drop your question in the comment section. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, I will just go into another slide so that if there are questions, please go ahead. Let me just go to my next slide. So how is it so far? Are there questions?
Okay, thank you very much. So it's been an eye-opening session because I really did not know that an healthcare, somebody with a master's in public health or global health would have an opportunity to work in World Bank. So I was thinking maybe it could be just the maybe to analyze data or something. Okay, somebody is asking a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So what are the criteria for joining Global Health Focus?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll answer that. So Global Health Focus is not an organization, it's just a network. We have the Global Health Emerging Leaders Program. And if you're interested to join it, we hold it in many countries all over the world. And then that's where you do your workshop and training. And eventually, one of the things that we will be doing is to do a lot of research and publications because we are trying to strengthen your CV. So which brings us to this second part of the presentation on what are the publications that you can do so that you can hone your skills in writing and research. So these are some of the outputs that we have done. We have done hundreds now of outputs, and eventually you got my email and you can join the organization. I say it's not an organization, it's just a network, okay? So for example, we do a lot of writing. We even go write with undergrads for top journals such as Nature. For example, we talk about vaccinations, especially during COVID. We write for Lancet with undergrads. You probably know Yusuf Adibisi. He's the director for research of Global Health Focus. You can reach out to him. And so we wrote this paper on typhoon and COVID. We write book chapters, as you will see later on. So we have done original studies on psychosocial factors of stigma in relationship to healthcare services among adolescents living with HIV/AIDS in Kano State. And we published it in a big journal. And we talk about, Ian and DPC have been working, has been leading a research on risk communication and community engagement strategies for COVID-19 in 13 African countries, which we publish in Scopus journals. You will see that we have been working with undergrads on who will pay for the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccines for Africa. This was done for the American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, their journal, done with students from Calabar, and they are all undergrads. So if you want to reach out to them, Isaac Ogunkula will be happy to help you with that. We do a lot of work on writing COVID-19 pandemic on the impact on the antenatal healthcare services in sub-Saharan Africa, and we have published it in Public Health in Practice. We look at big health programs such as 90-90-90 target of the WHO, and we look at the impact of COVID-19 on this, particularly in Africa. So these are some other examples on a project of 3 different countries from Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt, where we try to analyze if the dam in Ethiopia is built, it will have an effect on the flooding or the waters in Sudan and Egypt. So that's why we entitled it "Dam If You Do" and "Dam If You Don't." So these are one thing we played with. We talked about SARS. You're familiar with SARS in Nigeria, dealing with 2 SARS outbreaks in Nigeria. So that's the SARS which happened, which caused insecurity, and its public health implications. Impact of COVID-19 on the SDGs. We have done that also with many students. Telemedicine, COVID-19. So these are just some examples. Street vending in Africa and how the COVID-19 affected it. Pharmacy students, how their work was affected or their studies was affected in during the pandemic. Early marriage and teenage pregnancy. It was affected during the pandemic, so we wrote about it. So what I'm just trying to say is there are many things which you can write about because you are very much familiar with the pandemic. And so what we do is to help you develop your ability to write, learn what the journals are, where they are, and just submit, because every time you have a publication will really contribute to your CV building. So these all feed to your CVs, and it will just strengthen your CV, and publications, especially at your age, would really help strengthen your CV. So this is another work where they talk about Lassa fever and COVID-19 in Nigeria. We also write with the other countries all over the world. Let's say, for example, the success story against COVID-19 in Vietnam. Sometimes those who are interested in laboratory-based work, they do have prevalence and risk factors and impact on immunity, on intestinal parasitosis among people living with HIV in Nigeria. So you can do many original researches, especially if you have access to data. We have a paper on smoking and COVID-19. We do a lot of systematic reviews and review papers and meta-analysis. And sometimes you have to write for conferences. As I mentioned, you can send your abstracts to conferences, because every conference you attend and every paper presented in a conference would add to your CV. So we do a lot of work on antibiotics, especially antimicrobial resistance, so that we can contribute to the body of knowledge on AMR. And talking about rural communities in Africa during the COVID-19, we have done that. Let me just see the chat if there are questions. Okay, while I'll start now going to the questions. There is okay, the first thing is what is the criteria for joining Global Health Focus? There is no criteria, as I mentioned. You can just attend, or even as early as now, you can start writing and writing with us. Odokwe asked, please, I really didn't get the details of what you said concerning attending free conferences. Okay, so that's what I said earlier, that you can write abstracts, and then because conferences would normally ask for presentations, and you can write, let's say, a literature-based research, and then make an abstract out of it. For example, the impact of COVID-19 on adolescents, on girls in Nigeria. You can look for the literature, gather literature, and come up with an abstract from this literature and submit it to a global conference. So that's what I mean by that. So you have to choose the conference, because there are so many of them, whether it's HIV/AIDS, and then you can eventually, if your abstract is chosen, then you can attend it for free. So you get to attend it for free. It adds to your CV because you have a paper there. So it adds to your publications, and then it really helps in your travel experiences. I'd like to ask if Global Health Focus as a cohort. Well, they call the people attending one event as a cohort. It's not really a cohort. It's just a group of people who are attending. So that's why they call it a cohort. It's not a very strict term that we use. What else are the questions? I think I already mentioned there's no requirement for joining GHF. You can join the Global Health Emerging Leaders Program, which Global Health Focus organizes. Normally, we will announce it. And it goes through different countries. And for example, in Nigeria, I think we have done a number. For example, the first one was at Lagos State University. So this is just the venue. but everyone can attend from all over Nigeria. We done it at Port Harcourt. The recent one, we did it at Ilorin and at Calabar. We have done it at Ile-Ife, at Zaria. Where else have we done it? I think we will go to University of Nigeria in the near future. And we have done it at Ibadan. Yes. There's a question here for the writing part and research. Does GHF provide trainings for newbies? Yes, we do. But we have been doing a lot of trainings on writing. But we don't let you get into difficult writing. We just call it high school essay writing. But of course, we do quality control. As long as you understand the phenomenon that you are writing about, whether it is on HIV/AIDS in the northern part of Nigeria, or the impact of climate change, and so on, and then you gather literature. So what you do in your university in terms of writing is what you eventually do based on these examples that I have been showing. So I'll show you more other examples of the papers that we have been writing. We talk about big topics, for example, pharmacoeconomics in Africa. Some of you would be interested to do that. Universal health coverage in Africa, relevance of telemedicine. You can do this based on literature. So these are mostly literature-based writing. We talk about even oxygen distribution, because it was a big problem during the pandemic. And we submit it to the top journals of the world. Okay, I think there's another question. You mentioned a lot about writing. How can you improve on writing some of these research articles? What are the sites to visit online which can be used to get inspiration to help improve writing? Okay, that's a very good question. Now, there are many sources of information to get into writing. Of course, YouTube is one of them. So harness the power of the internet, the websites. There are just so many. You just type doing research or training and research. There are just so many of them. In fact, we have been doing research methods courses, but we have stopped it because in Nigeria it is quite popular now, and you just can attend any of them, and that would be a good start for in doing your research and writing. That's one. However, I changed the paradigm in the way we do our research training and publication writing at Global Health Focus. We just bring the person hands-on, because I noticed it takes time to do this training, and if there is no immediate impact of these trainings, participants just disappear and they're not interested anymore. So what we do is really get into the topics, write it, and then we just guide it. So we now do hands-on learning and training. So I changed it to go directly to it rather than doing a lot of trainings, because it takes time. And we have devised a number of ways on how to get as many publications as possible. And the reason why we are emphasizing a lot on writing, because we have found this as very substantial in developing your CV. At the same time, you are preparing your CV for applications for master's programs. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be a writer or you're going to be an academic later on. Because if you have to apply for the big organizations, they will still ask for your research and publications, even if you're not going to be a professor in the future, because this will be a proxy to your ability to analyze data and your ability to write reports, and these publications will help later on. Okay, so that's why I've been emphasizing on this, because this is what the least emphasized when you are doing your work, because many of you are very good already with leadership. You are into SDG programs, you are into harm reduction programs in your universities, you are into your student organizations and student bodies. So that one, we don't have to improve that part. Or you are an ambassador of this and that. However, the writing part is there is some weakness in terms of CV. That's why I'm trying to emphasize the balancing. Okay, we have 10 minutes more before the 1 hour period. Keep the questions coming, and I'll just continue with my presentation. I'll just wrap it up. Some of the examples on what topics to write. You can talk about smoking cessation services, for example. You can get into grants. So we have now been teaching also grant writing, so that many of the publications were based on grants, such as for the Royal Society of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, where they receive £5,000 to do their to be able to get their grants. Topics like this, for example, bear mauling accidents in Bhutan, this would be a good example. Systematic reviews, which I mentioned earlier. We do a lot of work with other countries, so that will also help your international CV. Climate change and human migration and skin disease, hemophilia, for example, COVID-19 in just different countries. We have done it. We have another question from Adani. What are the best organizations to volunteer for someone who's interested in global health, logistics, and supply chain management? There are many kinds of organizations when it comes to logistics. I think most organizations have a logistics section. So there is no best organization. I think it does not, probably when you say best organization is an internship that will pay. That's one, because it will be expensive for you to travel if they don't pay. But most of the organizations have logistics and supply chain management, for example. For example, the World Food Program would have that. All the programs handling pharmacy would have that. From, for example, USAID projects and programs. So you just have to be, International Dispenser Association is pretty much on logistics and supply chain. Anything that has got to do with distribution of goods and services, pharma products and medicines, you can get into that. So just be able to use the power of the internet to be able to do this. So what you do is you try to have a notebook, and you write all the information that you learn, for example, from this lecture, and keep that dedicated notebook for your notes on what you want, and then keep on trying to think and then write on it. And then later on, get back to that notebook, to your notes, so that you know what you're going to do later on, and you don't forget on what you are planning to do. Okay, I'll just wrap up if there are no questions, but I'm happy to answer questions if you have. So I'll showing you more papers and book chapters. We do a lot of book chapter writing on antimicrobial resistance, for example, in Nigeria, and healthcare in the prisons in sub-Saharan Africa. So this is my email, and if you want to work with us, feel free to email us. If you want to message on Facebook, I have the same name, and do write a message when you want to reach out to us. Okay, probably I'll open now the last few minutes to questions, if there are questions. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that session. I think quite a number of people had questions to ask, and I also want to add that for those who are participants of Farmer Incubation Hub, we have Adebisi Yusuf, who is one of the convenants of Farmer Incubation Hub, so that for those who would like to be part of Global Health Focus Release Project, you can also work directly with Farm Yusuf. And for Farmer Incubation Hub, we also have like a research team in which Farm Yusuf is also heading, that would also be an opportunity for people who would like to publish papers and be into the research space. So that's like an added advantage. Then I think you mentioned, right, you mentioned that Global Health Focus also has like a forum to teach people or help people to write well. So how can people like access this kind of forum? Is there a way you can just fill a form, you want to be a part of this or something for that?
Yeah, there are many of this actually being offered, and we are speaking in many of these initiatives on training. You can just watch it on information on Facebook and from your networks, because I think I have a number of speaking engagement on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, somebody's asking now, can we contact Farm Yusuf? I'm not sure if I should share his contacts.
He's on Facebook.
On Facebook, you can send him a DM on Facebook actually.
Yeah.
Then I also wanted to ask that you mentioned that there is Global Health Focus courses. So is this something that like anybody can access for like free courses?
Yeah,
to check out
anyone. We have the Global Health Emerging Leaders Program is our main program, where we do detailed training workshop on leadership, research, and innovations, and really a hands-on learning of really what you want to be and what you want to do in the near future. And I would suggest you attend this in the near future. And we have many of this.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I also want to ask for those who would like to, maybe healthcare professional that would like to delve into the field of tech, how can they relate it with global health? How can they also find careers in global health? Like
for
maybe
those who,
data science.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Health, I was asking for healthcare professionals who want to like delve into tech, like maybe data science, maybe AI, maybe machine learning.
Oh yeah.
So,
that is also part of global health. That is part and parcel of data analytics. It's a tool that can be used in global health, so that you can get into it. And there are also kind of professions for this, for global health, especially if you like handling big data. If you want to use, if you want to do technology also, for example, the use of just different technologies to deliver health services would be one of them. Yeah.
Okay, and one can actually like write papers even from those.
Yes, writing papers is just one aspect. Doing it is another aspect, if that is your field, and you just combine them all together, and then internships, and then eventually get into a professional work from it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to ask, if someone wants to like probably apply for a scholarship for master's or for PhD, what should stand out in the person's application? What would probably stand out for the person for the application that would make the person have a higher chance of getting the scholarship?
Okay. Leadership only will not really get you into it, because for example, for a PhD, it is a training to become a researcher and an academic. So therefore, I, as a professor, would be interested in your writing and research skills, and the proxy and the factor that would matter on your CV is your publications. I would not be interested in someone who has been doing too much leadership, because I want someone who is going to be sitting down in his or her laboratory or desk and writing. So that's what I'm interested in. And so therefore, that's what I've been saying, balance the CV, and that will really help if you want to win scholarships. Even research, conference presentations, delivering of seminars would really help. Of course, you combine it with leadership, then that would be a very good CV, including very good grades. So you put them all together. I think there are questions online.
Okay, yes. Somebody is asking, how do we know about conferences available to attend?
How do we know about conferences? Everything is online. There's even websites called conference hubs, international conferences. You just Google conferences and everything is there. Use the power of the internet.
Okay,
That's
thank you
what
very
I
much. Also,
always do.
sorry, yeah, thank you very much. I also wanted to add when you mentioned internship for WH and other organizations. So I also wanted to like add for everyone that it's something you can also go on LinkedIn to search for internship, and then you can turn on notifications so that you can get when any opportunities come in that kind of line, you can get a notification to apply on LinkedIn. And then you can follow some of these organizations you're interested in on LinkedIn so that you can stay up to date on whatsoever they are doing. That's also another way to harness social media. So I'm not sure we have any other question. So I'd like to say that if you want to like have access to the recording of today's session, I'll drop my mail in the chat box so that you can send me a mail, then I can send you the recording of today's session. So any other question? Let me drop my mail.
If you have questions, any feedback? Did you understand? Did you learn anything from the lecture?
Yes. Oh, okay. Somebody is asking if we can get the slide.
If it is on YouTube, then or on the video, then yeah, you can get the slides if you want. Sure.
Oh, okay. Can I contact you for the slide so that I can share it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we actually learned a lot. So probably would share what we learned on LinkedIn or probably Facebook and tag, because I know you're very active on Facebook, so that we can tag you. So that for those who they can write or what stood out for them for today's session, and then they can tag you on Facebook. So you can write whatever you learned and tag Dawn on Facebook, or you can tag on LinkedIn. And also tag Farmer Incubation Hub too. Let me check if there's any other question. Okay, so people are saying thank you so much. Oh, can we get Don's email? I think he shared his mail. Please, can you show us your mail again so that...
Yeah, I will write it in the chat right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
So you can get it. It's actually easy. Just my family name. There you go.
Okay, so I think it's on YouTube. So it's on YouTube. Let me copy and paste the link.
So if you really are very serious on developing your career, just sit down, work with us, and then that will really help you propel. Because, for example, at DBC, Yusuf, before he finished his pharmacy, he had 50 publications, and now he's going into 100. He's just doing his internship. So that's how powerful what we are doing is.
Yes, it is, because I remember that I also attended the Global Health Focus in OAU that made me start the health promotion and communication. Then I was part of the organizing team for the one that happened at UI. Then I think because of GHF, I was able to publish my first book, the case book on use of social media and curbing AMR in the public health book. So yeah. Actually, GHF has really done a lot. So, and it's very nice for young girls professionals to actually harness this opportunity early enough, very early enough, actually. Okay, so somebody said, can one join GHF without having attended any of the trainings?
Yes, you can. There's no problem about that. Just approach us. No problem, Joy Francis.
Okay. Yeah. So any other questions so that we can call it a day? So I shared the YouTube link for the session. So you can just copy and paste the YouTube link if you want to go back to the video at any point in time.
Okay, then.
Yeah,
If
thank you
there's
very
none,
much, Don, because we don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you for making yourself available because I know your schedule is really tight. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye. Let me switch on my video. Okay.